How's it going, everybody? This is Zach from the Why Would You Think That podcast. All right, week 4 of the NFL is in the books, so we're going to break it down. Thursday Night Football first up. Really not a great game if you did watch it. I'm a loser, and I did watch most of the game. Broncos at Jets. Broncos come out with the win 37-28. A lot of penalties killed the Jets, a lot of personal fouls for the Broncos. Brett Rippon made a couple bad decisions, threw a pick six, threw two other picks to get the Jets in the game. Jets had a 28-27 lead with about 3 minutes to go. Sam Darnold played okay, not really great. Had some really shaky moments. He looks pretty broken for the Jets. Jets O line did him no favors in the run game. Pass pro was pretty good. Melvin Gordon had a really good game for the Broncos. They were able to really run the rock to help Brett Rippon out. Broncos scored the last 10 points of the game in the last 3 minutes and 12 seconds of gameplay. The Jets' second straight start of 0-4. One key thing, just to take one last thing to take away from it, is Jets had a sack on Brett Rippon, the second last drive for the Broncos, with a little less than 4 minutes to go, and it sets up a fourth down, but it gets called back because of a illegal contact on one of the Jets' defensive backs. So that was a really big turning point. It was 28-27 at the time. The Broncos go down, kick a field goal, get up up two, excuse me, and then they eventually stop the Jets, and then Melvin Gordon goes for a score to ice it 37-28. Where do the Jets? I don't know where the Jets get their first win. If you take a look at their schedule, the only winnable game really is the home game against the Dolphins after their bye week. But if you look at their schedule, it is absolutely brutal. They are definitely on my 0-16 watch. Okay, moving into Sunday early window, Saints at Lions. Lions get a quick hot start, up 14-0. They jump the Saints, and eventually the Saints wake up. They expose the Lions' awful defensive man-to-man scheme. Breeze looks really good for all the talk of his arm being a noodle arm, which I still think it is, but it's easy to throw it deep when you have dudes streaking wide open in the mid-range of 15 to 25 yards. Saints' run game really took advantage of one of the three worst run defenses in the league in the Lions. Alvin Kamara and Latavius Murray looked like the same guy. You couldn't tell that when Latavius Murray would get in the game, he would gash the Lions just as well as Alvin Kamara would. Saints defense looked good before the Lions had those garbage time scores, and that's just about it. Saints win 35-29. Rebound, don't fall to 1-3. All right, Chargers at the Bucks. Bucks win 38-21. Chargers get up to a 24-7 lead. They forget which one. I think it was Joshua Kelly fumbles right before halftime at the Chargers about 5-yard line. So they go into halftime 24-14. Herbert looked good throwing the ball, threw the ball deep, was able to take advantage of the Bucks defensive backs. Looked really, really good for a rookie. Chargers got really cute for my taste in the second half. I mean, obviously they only scored 7 points in the second half, but they really could have taken a lot of the air out of the ball for much of the second half. Tom Brady looked good. I'm still not impressed. Yes, he had 5 touchdowns, but it wasn't anything just eye-popping in the actual gameplay. Chargers pass rush just did not exist. I understand Melvin Gordon didn't play, but you're paying Joey Bosa a lot of money to get to the quarterback and disrupt the quarterback, and he didn't get close to Tom Brady all day. All right. Next up, I had the Colts Bears. This is going to be a little out of order because it got pushed back due to the post moment of Patriots Chiefs. Colts win 19-11. I watched a little bit of this game. This was a really, really tough watch. Bears offense struggles again. This is how I've always felt about Nick Foles. He's just like a relief pitcher when he comes in late season, or like last week when he came in to help the Bears come back against the Falcons. Excuse me. Didn't look good. They didn't score a touchdown until the last 2 minutes of the game, and then garbage time touchdown. And then it's just the old theory: when you have two quarterbacks, you have none. Between Mitchell Trubisky and Nick Foles, you have two quarterbacks, but you don't have any at all. Colts red zone issues continue to be a struggle. That was a huge struggle for the Colts coming into the game. They kicked a bunch of field goals. But one thing that I really came out of it is, yes, the Bears' offense is bad, but the Colts, you still have to play defense. You can't give up anything, and the Colts' defense has been really good this season. It's really emerging, not allowing a lot of points. They are the number one defense in the league in terms of points. And then Colts did lean on their strength with their offensive line, running the football. Khalil Mack hasn't been a factor at all this season. And the Colts kind of really grind out a win against the Bears, giving the Bears their first loss of the season. Okay, Seahawks at Dolphins. I don't have a whole lot of thoughts on this one. Russell Wilson just continues his MVP march. Plays really, really well. Ryan Fitzpatrick, the Fitz magic turns into Fitz tragic, makes a crucial pick. Well, when the Seahawks are up 2 scores, um, the thing was is that they had a 16 point. The Seahawks had a 16-point lead even after they scored off the Fitzmagic turnover. So it was still a two-score game, but it really put it out of reach late in the game. Seahawks defense will get exposed by better teams. Fitzmagic had a pretty good game, but you can just tell any team, any good offense that goes against this defense is going to have field days because this defense is just not that good. Chris Carson had a pretty good game. They ran the ball a little bit but there was concerns obviously with the cheap shot that Chris Carson took last week from the Cowboys. Okay, moving in, Browns at the Cowboys. Browns win 49-38. Browns had over 300 yards rushing for the game. Nick Chubb gets hurt in the first quarter. Doesn't seemingly matter. Dearness Johnson, Damian Hillard, and Kareem Hunt just really take over the game. Browns offense was able to take advantage of the Cowboys' awful defense, and the Cowboys' defense is really they have the wrong scheme for their personnel. Their personnel was built over a long period of time under Jason Garrett under one scheme, and they've completely flipped it under Mike Nolan. It's not working out. Odell Beckham Jr. has a big game. Baker Mayfield didn't have any gaudy numbers, but he's extremely efficient, which is what this offense needed for the game and needs going forward. Here's a fun thing I dug up. Every time Odell Beckham Jr. got the ball, he either got a first down or a touchdown. That is just the explosive ability that this dude has, and Kevin Stefanski said coming into the game, we need to find ways to get him involved after Odell was kind of signing off on the fact that he wouldn't have a big statistical year. And Kevin Stefanski came out later and he was talking about how, he doesn't want to write that book just yet. And so this game really kind of spoke to what he was saying. Dak Prescott had a huge game, 502 yards. A lot of it was in garbage time after they were down 41-14. But still, it's not like his defense is giving him a chance. And they can't even get Zeke involved because the defense just doesn't give him a chance to control the ball and keep the score close. All right. So Browns win 49-38. Let's move on to Vikings at Texans. Vikings offense looked better, granted against the Houston Texans. Bill O'Brien was fired yesterday, or actually I think it was Monday. Going into the Monday night games, that news came in. Dalvin Cook had a really good game. They emphasized running him the ball. That really helped Kirk Cousins set up the pass to Thielen, Jefferson. Texans finally get Will Fuller involved in the offense. Almost had 2 touchdowns. Almost had that touchdown to allow the Texans to go for 2 to tie the game. He didn't end up catching it. Both these defenses, I think, in the long run are going to stink. They've proven that the first couple weeks, but I think this is just they will really, really get exposed as the season goes along. Where do the 0-4 Texans go? I wrote that question down before Bill O'Brien had gotten fired Monday afternoon. Considering they do have the biggest payroll in the NFL for the 2020 season, and they are 0-4 and not going to be contending for anything at all, considering their payroll situation. So just something to keep an eye out for. And here's one thing I thought about this, and this might be a little bit of a hot take, but it's like if you look at the Seahawks roster and the Texans roster, besides the wide receiver DK Metcalf, wide receiver part of the Seahawks, how much difference is it? You have 2 really good quarterbacks. Obviously, Russell Wilson's on a much higher level than Deshaun Watson, but those are 2 guys who are attempting to just absolutely carry the roster around them. Texans don't have a very good roster, don't have good offensive line or defensive line. Neither do the Seahawks. The defensive backfield for both teams aren't good. So just something to think about. That's the comparison I kind of drew to it. One team's 4-0, other team is 0-4. It's not all on Deshaun Watson, but it's kind of opposite for the Seahawks because Russell Wilson has carried them to 4-0. Okay, see, Cardinals at Panthers. Panthers win 31-21. Cardinals have lost two in a row. Panthers are the opposite. I'm sorry, Cardinals have lost. Yeah, Cardinals have lost two in a row after starting off two in a row. Excuse me. Let's restart that. Cardinals have lost two in a row after starting 2-0. Are the opposite. They've won two in a row after 0-2 start. Teddy Bridgewater has a big game running and throwing the ball. Scrambled for a touchdown. Was able to connect on a couple deep passes. He looked really, really efficient. Cardinals' offense is way too pass happy. I understand Cliff Kingsbury's offense is an air raid type offense, but they need to show more balance, and that makes them a little less predictable. Um, I am concerned about the Cardinals going forward. They do look a little bit like pretenders. They have lost to two really bad teams the past 2 weeks. Even though Panthers are 2-2, I don't think they will be a good team by any stretch of the imagination. So Cardinals in a little bit of a tricky spot, in my opinion. All right, Jags at Bengals. Bengals get their first win, 33-25. Joe Burrow and Joe Mixon have really, really good games. Joe Mixon had a receiving touchdown, rushing touchdown, a lot of yards. Both teams combined for almost 1,000 yards of offense. It was actually one of the more interesting games. I didn't think it'd be a good game, but I do watch whenever Joe Burrow does play. That's one of my new things I look out for. Bengals get their first win, obviously, and they're not afraid to sling it. I mean, there was obviously the stat when they played the Browns in week 2, how they threw it 60 times. They didn't get anywhere close to that this week, but they are just continuing to show that they are not afraid, even with a rookie quarterback, to go out, throw it all over the yard, and do what is necessary to win. All right, Ravens at Washington. Haskins has actually a career game in passing yards. He didn't have any turnovers. Ravens do what they normally do, run the football. But Lamar did have a pretty good game through the air, looked a lot better as opposed to his outing against the Chiefs last week. Washington's front four, that really strong defensive line, got really neutralized by the Ravens' run game. And you kind of saw, and obviously they got worn down. It was announced earlier today that Kyle Allen will start for Washington, and Dwayne Haskins isn't even the backup. He is the third stringer behind Alex Smith. So that's very interesting considering how well Haskins played. It almost makes me believe that there's something going on behind the scenes that has led to this change. All right, Giants at Rams. Really was a bad game to watch. Rams looked disinterested. They didn't look like they wanted to take the New York Giants seriously. Giants were committed to running the football. They really tried their best to run the football. The game was close all game, so there was really no pressure to try and run to keep them in the game by controlling the clock. I think the Rams got away from their bread and butter, which is you run the football to help set up the pass. They got away from that. They got pass happy. Daniel Jones had another turnover to seal the Giants' fate after potentially going down, getting a touchdown, going for two to tie the game to send it to overtime. That didn't happen. And Jared Goff didn't look very good. Again, the Rams' offense is predicated on running the football, setting up the pass, making it easy for Jared Goff. All right, Patriots at Chiefs. I have this down not in chronological order again because I had this written down before it got postponed on Monday night. But the Patriots' game plan was simple: keep the ball away from the Chiefs. They tried to do that as best they could in the first half, and Brian Hoyer showed why he's Brian Hoyer. Takes the sack right before halftime. You're not able to get a field goal off. Chiefs eventually outlast the Patriots, and it wasn't because of their offense. It was not because of their offense. It was because their defense was able to make a couple of plays, taking advantage off the pick six, picking off Jared Stidham in the end zone on the last Patriots drive of the game. So Chiefs outlast them, but I was really, really impressed with the Patriots defense in the first half, the game plan. If they just had even marginal better quarterback play out of Brian Hoyer, or maybe they should have started Jared Stidham, to be frank with you. But obviously the Cam Newton loss for that game was devastating because I think the Patriots could have kept that game close with Cam Newton. All right, Bills at Raiders. Bills win 30-23. Josh Allen continues his exceptional play. The offensive play calling by Brian Daboll is just hyper aggressive. They are throwing it, they are running it a little bit, and Josh Allen has now emerged as one of the MVP candidates. Um, Bills take advantage of the Raiders' fumbles. Now, it's one thing. So, again, this is one of the things in the NFL. It's one thing to force the turnover, but then to go down and get 6 points with your offense each and every time, that just kills the opponents. Darren Waller had coughed up a fumble. Derek Carr coughed up a fumble. That ended up really turning the tide of the game, giving the Bills the lead, the ability to crush the Raiders with that. Raiders' game plan was pretty good. I thought it was good. Getting Darren Waller involved, run the football. They had a really long touchdown pass called back in the first half that could have given them an early lead. Called back, I think it was holding, but I don't think I don't think we should write off the Raiders because of this. The Bills are good, in my opinion. And I'll get to this in my power rankings. The Bills are probably the only team in the AFC that can seriously challenge the Kansas City Chiefs. Okay. Eagles at 49ers. I don't have the final score written down, of course. But Eagles win. I think it was like 25-18, something like that. Eagles kept the playbook simple for Wentz after all of his struggles. Um, Running the football, some screens. Lane Johnson got hurt again, their tackle. And you could see the desperation. They came out, got their first touchdown, and then went for two, giving them the 8-0 lead. They played well on defense, took advantage of the backup quarterback situation. Nick Mullins had some of the worst interceptions and one of the worst pick sixes you will ever see. And then C.J. Beathard made a bunch of mistakes when he eventually got the call late in the game, throwing it in the middle without any timeouts, just killing the clock for them late. But Eagles get their first win. They sit atop the NFC East standings, and they get the win on the road. All right, Falcons at Green Bay. This was originally the only Monday Night Football game that was supposed to be going on. They win 30-16. Packers just keep scoring. They have not scored less than 30 points this season. They just keep scoring, even without their two top receivers in Devontae Adams and Marquez Valdes-Scantling. It's really, really impressive. Aaron Rodgers is just playing ridiculous football, and he really should get a little bit more love for this MVP talk. Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones combined for little to no receiving yards. Julio only plays the first half, then sits out the second half due to injury. Ridley had an ankle injury coming in. Falcons squander their offensive opportunities. They get the ball at the 1 yard line. They go on a 20-play drive. They end deep in Green Bay territory. I think it was around the 5 yard line, and they kick a field goal. The other drive near the end of the game, Ryan Gage drops the ball at the 3 yard line on a deep post route. Calvin Ridley drops a touchdown in the end zone on the same drive. Todd Gurley has 2 touchdowns, but he just doesn't look like the same guy. He really looks faded. He looks like that knee has really taken a lot out of what he used to be in the burst and the explosive that he used to really be. All right, Robert Tonyan, the Green Bay Packers rookie tight end, emerges. He has a couple of touchdowns, really stepping up without Devontae Adams and Marquez Valdes-Scantling. I'll be interested to see if he can continue being a difference maker in this offense, because if he can, for all the talk of the Green Bay Packers not drafting a wide receiver in the first round, drafting Jordan Love, I mean, this offense is explosive without their top 2 receivers. And if they have a good tight end, holy crap, man, good luck stopping them. So this is what we like to call the Around the League roundup from me. This is Zach on the Why Would You Think That podcast. All right, so now I'm going to go right